Yay, today's the day we're live. Hi, Lindy.
Hi, Suzy.
We are so excited to be here. So, Lindy and I are here today to talk to you about building your business foundation. This is our live that we've been announcing. For those of you that have been following us on LinkedIn, today's the day of what we're going to be talking about building your business foundation, website, and marketing strategies. And Lindy and I are going to go over everything that you're going to hear on this live that we're doing today for the next hour or so. We are going to leave room for questions. But first of all, we're going to introduce ourselves. So, I'm Suzy Wraines. I'm the founder and CEO of Starting a Business Simplified, as well as the podcast host for Starting a Business Simplified. And I help entrepreneurs that are just getting started or that want to start a business set up their business foundations. And I specifically work with them on healing past traumas or places that they're stuck. When Lindy and I go through today and talk through some of these things, what happens for people that are just getting started or brand new in business ownership, they start to have these patterns that show up. And it's something that I recognize and help people work through when they get stuck. So that's one of the key things that sets me apart as far as business foundation building. And so I'll just hand it over to Lindy to introduce herself.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Lindy Nowak. For those of you who don't know me, I am the founder of a company called Up in a Day. And what we do is we help solopreneurs, small business owners, and even micro business owners get really great websites up quickly without the headache. We are specifically built and designed to help business owners get really great websites up that actually help convert the right audiences. All too often, when we're starting a business, or if we have a seasoned business and we have a website that's outdated, finding the right agency, individual that understands the industry that you're in or the business in general can feel like a needle in a haystack. So when I started Up in a Day, I specifically built it so that we truly help small business owners get websites that truly work for your business, up and running quickly, on budget, and of course on time. So Suzy and I here together today, we have a lot of synergies, and I'm going to now pass it back over to Suzy, and she's going to tell you about how we met, and then we're going to get started.
Thanks, Lindy. So, Lindy and I actually met through something that I like to share with my clients. If you notice me looking over, we are taking notes and we're also tracking what we're doing live because we are live on LinkedIn. Lindy and I both are live in our news feeds, and this is new for both of us. So, I'm going to tell you, as a business owner, it's so important to be okay with doing things that are uncomfortable. And we do talk about that on the podcast. So, Lindy and I met. Um, I think she reached out to me or something to be on Starting a Business Simplified podcast. And so we met. I always meet with people to get to know them a little bit before I go record with them on the podcast. And we were chatting and we're like, oh my gosh, we need to do a webinar. So we were talking and we were bouncing ideas off it. And I'm like, okay, hold on. We got to put this in the pod. So the podcast episode that Lindy is going live tomorrow on Starting a Business Simplified podcast is talking about Lindy's story. So you're going to hear about how she got started and her story. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to let Lindy describe it, but basically through that podcast, we realized we really wanted to get information out to business owners who are either brand spanking new, don't know what they're doing, just getting started, or those people who have started, but they're getting stuck. So we're like, there's a lot of things that we know from both sides that we could share to help them in building this foundation and getting their website up, and what does that all mean. So she's going to go over what to expect in the time that we have together today, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. First, I want to say that Suzy and I were chatting right before we went live. Suzy and I were business owners too. And we started from scratch, just like a lot of you out there. And so we have a lot of findings and we meet a lot of people and we've built our business, and there we hit a lot of road bumps, and we've had a lot of wins. So that's why we're sharing some really good content with you today, hopefully. So here is what we're going to cover. I'm just going to go quick so we can dive in. First, Suzy's going to start, and she's going to talk about your foundation as a business before your website. We'll talk about understanding your brand, pricing, budgeting, etc. And then she's going to go into messaging, crafting your messaging for your ideal audience. And then she's going to hand it over to me. And I want to talk to you about your website, preparing your website, website needs, what you need to do to get it done right, where to go, budgeting, all that good stuff. Um, and then after that, we're going to have an open discussion. And this is my favorite part of the conversation. So please do stay tuned, because I think this is where there's a lot of value. There's a lot of value throughout, but I'm really excited for this portion. It's connecting with your audience and your client experience. Why? Why are we talking about this? Because you're going to set up the bones of your business, or your business is already set up and you have the bones. But when we start talking about retaining clients, getting new clients, and just like that whole journey and experience, those are your wins. And that's what's really setting your business up for longevity. And then we have a Q&A session at the end, and we will just answer live. But if we see some questions pop up while we're talking, we'll for 100% answer those as well. And again, if you see our eyes go like this, just because we have a very specific topics we're talking about, so we're looking at our notes as we go. All right, cool, Suzy.
Thanks, Lindy. Yeah, so we're going to dive in first. We're going to talk about the foundations before you do your website. So there's a lot of things that you need to take into consideration. And I'm going to speak for those of you who already have a website. This is for you too, because it's just going to help you get more clear. So, as business owners, and again, we're speaking to new business owners or people who are thinking about starting a business. It's constantly changing. We're constantly refining, doing new things, setting new things up. And Lindy, jump in anytime that you want while I'm talking through some of this stuff. Um, so understanding your brand is always the first thing. Who are you and who do you serve? Knowing your value in the marketplace. So Lindy and I are both examples of what's happening in our business and who we are. So I'm Suzy Wraines, and who I am and who I serve is I mostly speak to medical professionals who want to start a business. Boom. My branding is around helping them heal through past trauma in order to break through roadblocks that may come up when they are starting their business. So I have a specific way that I speak and the things that I talk to. So some of the questions that come up around this is, how do I even know who I serve? Lindy, I'm just curious. When you got started, what was this like for you? I can tell for me, it took me a little while to really figure out, oh, hey, I want to work with medical professionals. Like that was a aha moment for me. What was it like for you when you were thinking about who is it that I serve?
For me, it was, who do I want to help as well? Because up in a day, we're all about, like, we're serving specific industries and specific type of people. But I think it's the same. Obviously, it's the same for you, Susie. It's like, another question, if you get stuck there, ask yourself, well, what am I really good at, and who do I want to help? Whether it's a product and or service. For me, it was there were two sides. I had a personal reason for starting Up in a Day, of course, and then I had an aha moment randomly. I had always dreamt of creating a productized service. One where we were truly helping individuals for longevity. And what was happening is I come from the corporate world in New York City. I had in the creative marketing space and sales space. When I went into the entrepreneur world, I started a digital marketing company. And what was happening is we were getting a lot of individuals coming to us, solopreneurs, desperate for a website yesterday, a website that worked for them for whatever reason. Their developer disappeared. They spent $10,000 on a website that's not found on Google. Their sister's son built their website. Ultimately, whatever reason, they were unhappy and they didn't know where to go and they were stuck. and they couldn't move forward in their business because they were just not online and they were embarrassed by their website. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I want to help these people so bad. Like I can do it so easily. Like, how do I do this? That's how Up in a Day was born.
Yeah, I love that. And you identified the next question that usually comes up is how do I know what value I have in the marketplace? The value for what you just described was quickly. So
Hmm.
quickly, but also exactly what they needed. It was like, we're going to go straight to the need. So you knew in the marketplace there was a need for, I need a website yesterday. There you go. For me, mine similarly is how do I want to help is I had to do some market research. So I'm going to tell you here's another way to know how it is that you add value. You need to do some market. So for me, I was like, ooh, I want to help medical professionals. And I was like, oh, but what do they need? I building a business is a big thing. Like we're doing a webinar just touching on some of the key points, but there's way more to it. All of you out there that are watching that are business owners, you're like, yeah, there is. For those of you that are new, we're giving you a snippet of each of these key points. But for me, it was I got on the phone. So I actually had a list of questions and I was like, okay, I posted out and I asked my ideal clients, I said, hey, do you have 10 minutes? I got specific questions I want to ask you. It is not a sales call. This is just for market research. And I recorded it. And I'm going to talk to you guys about just here's a little tip. I recorded it with their permission and I took the transcript and I dropped it in Chat GPT in AI, whatever AI tool you want to use, and I had it pull out keywords, the words that people were saying. So out of 10 conversations I had, the one thing that kept coming up was step by step. Lindy's was, I need it yesterday, so fast. Mine
Hmm.
was, I need directions step by step. So understanding the value you have in your market is understanding your market. That's going to add into, okay, how am I showing up? So that's just a little bit, and I know we could keep going. I'm keeping an eye on the time because I want to get all of our information in here for you guys. If you have more questions or anything, please drop them in the comments. We will answer specific questions that you have. But I'm going to keep moving on because I mean we could stay on that topic for
I
so
know.
long.
I want to say, I know. I'm going to take 20 seconds because this is from our conversation after our podcast, which I'm just piggybacking on what Suzy just said about calling people. I did the same thing, but in a different way. So hopefully this sparks some ideas for you guys. When you know who you want to help, and you come up with that big idea, and it might be different in the market. Like Up in a Day was very new to market. I did the same thing. I made a list of, oh, it was so uncomfortable. Like all of the people in my network, even people I hadn't talked to in 3 years. And I said, hey, I have a question for you. Do you have 5 minutes on the phone? And so I was really uncomfortable about back in the day, like talking about myself and the imposter syndrome and all that good stuff. And, how do I even like explain this product? So I got all these people on the phone. I was like, basically said my elevator pitch, explained how it worked, gave my price point, and got feedback. So getting feedback from your network is really ultra important. And if you can even capture your talking to somebody in the same industry or in the same realm of who you're serving, even better. Okay, I had to say my piece there because talking about it to people, getting it out there is step number one.
And I want to just emphasize it's uncomfortable.
It is so
I did
uncomfortable.
okay, not to plug the podcast, but Starting Business Simplified. On my podcast, I interviewed a um content strategy messaging person. I can't remember her title. So sorry, but it just came to me. The number one thing that she recommends for people is market research calls. And it's no surveys. You don't email out a survey. So you don't, you literally have to speak to the person, get them
Yep.
on the phone, hear what they have to say. So I can't emphasize that enough. It is the number one thing. And it does completely change your messaging. And that was what, and that this goes right into the messaging part. So I'm going to hold off on that for a second. I do want to touch on pricing and budgeting before we dive into messaging, but market research for sure is going to help you know your value, know
Yep.
what your market needs so that you know how to serve. And that's gonna help you with your brand because 'cause you'll be like, who am I talking to?" Your brand is really the personality of your business, so it's and I'm not a branding person by any means, but it's not just colors and logo, it's you showing up, it's the again, the personality of your business, and so your brand is who you are, but you also need to know how to speak to the people you serve, so it's a
Mhm.
combination of showing up for them, so when they see you, they're drawn to you, that the right connection is made. And again, any questions you have, please drop them in the comments, and we will be answering questions later.
Yeah.
Pricing and budgeting, this is one that I love because I lived in it in the corporate world. I was, sales forecasting and budgeting, like, that was my job. I lived in spreadsheets. I lived in, millions of dollars of revenue in those spreadsheets. It was so fun for me, and then I get clients and they're like, "I don't even wanna look at my numbers."
Mhm.
Like, so I do want to touch on this so that it at the beginning, you have to determine what to charge and how much it's gonna cost to run your business. This ties into being able to have a website. And this was a big conversation that Lindy and I had before we recorded the podcast. We're like, this is part of what drove us to wanna do this webinar is that you need to map it out. This is what I teach. This is my clients go through this. It's uncomfortable. Everything Lindy and I are telling you is gonna be uncomfortable today. I'm sorry, it just
Mhm.
is.
It is.
Numbers are uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Looking at
they are.
pricing is uncomfortable. Asking people to pay you. For those of you that are coming from a job where you just get paid to show up, going out and asking somebody to pay you is uncomfortable,
Mhm.
and it's okay. Like, we're telling you, it is okay. But knowing your pricing. So, one of the questions that comes up around this is how do I know what to price my services at? I have a whole podcast episode about this, but I'm gonna give you the short version. First of all, you're gonna look at who it is you're selling to. I think that's the number one thing. Who is your audience? And I always use the example of a hair salon because it's easy to resonate with. Supercuts, haircuts for cheap, like whatever is called, $10 haircut. You know, the people that are going in there, they just want a $10 haircut. Squirt your hair down with water, we're gonna cut your
Mhm.
hair, and you're out. Kids, family, men, like whatever. But then you have another audience who's like, "No, I wanna be pampered." They want the full-on master stylist that you're gonna pay $300, and you're gonna get the fancy shampoo and the head massage, and they might even put, like, a warm blanket on I don't know, but it's a whole different experience. It's still a haircut, different. So, who are you selling to? Number 1. Who is it that's buying? So, what is their price point for what it is you're offering? The second thing is, what are you comfortable for what you are selling? I'm speaking to service providers because that's what I deal with. And Lindy, you can speak to this from a website perspective. But for me, when I'm working with clients, they're like, if they're providing a service, I'm like, okay, what is the value of that service? And 9 times out of 10, it is their expertise and their knowledge and their special gift that they have that they're selling. And so you
Mhm.
can't put a price on that no matter what. It's who are you selling it to and what are you comfortable with saying this is how much it's worth?
Totally, and you
And that
can
go ahead.
absolutely. I wanna jump in here because when you choose that first magic number, just remember that you can always increase your price point, but don't start high and go lower. Don't decrease your pricing over time. So start with what you're comfortable with, like what Susie said, understand your market and what they can bear. Like what is the market bearing at this point of time? Maybe look at some competitors, maybe talk to some people, maybe send some emails, see what the price points are. And then get something solidified, and I promise you, the more people you service, the better you are going to get at your craft and your staff, if you have staff and employees. And then you will know. It will just come so easily because you will become an expert in that space, even more of an expert, and it will be easier to increase your costs over time, and you'll be evolving your business.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks, Lindy, for that. And I also wanted to say, I 1,000% support. Do not go down. Pick something that is lower and go up from there, because again, you don't want to be lowering your pricing. That just looks backwards. If you're And again, notice how you feel. Is it easy for you to say that number when you're asking for someone to purchase?
Yeah.
If it's comfortable, go with it and stay with it. Pricing is always being, we had a whole pricing department in one of the companies I worked for, and the entire department that all they did was spreadsheets around pricing and all the different market stuff. So it is always a constantly evolving thing. And if you're uncomfortable, move it down to where you're comfortable and stay there until you're like, huh, I'm more valuable. Like I'm doing more. I have more to offer. There's more things happening. Then you can reevaluate.
And then you can have a whole team running those numbers in the garage next door. I'm just kidding. A whole team doing this
Yeah,
for
totally. Yeah, then you hire a team to do your pricing. Now, so I want to cover just the next question that comes up all the time, because it ties into the budget. So how do I know what income I need for my business? So when you're pricing, another component of that is, how many of these do I need to sell to fund my business? That includes having a website, hiring a
Mhm.
team, maybe you need a pricing department, I don't know. Whatever it is that you need in your business, so that is going to adjust. Your pricing may adjust. How many of these do I need to sell? And if you're a service provider, how many team members do I need to provide the service to cover how many of these I'm selling? So again, it's a lot of looking at this and not being afraid of it. That's
Yeah.
something it's my specialty. I work with my clients on all the time. Totally. I build the spreadsheet for you. It has budgeting, pricing, all of the things, so that you can keep track of this, because it's something that will constantly be evolving. And if you're a business that wants to scale, you got to start with the foundation. You have to know
You
how
have
much it costs.
totally. You have to look at the numbers, and the spreadsheet is crucial, having everything on there. As uncomfortable as it may seem, not everybody is uncomfortable with numbers. But for me, I used to be a little uncomfortable with numbers, but in all honesty, I made myself comfortable with it. I made myself sit down every week and look at the spreadsheet, and I made myself do it. And after 3 times, it was like, "Oh, I got this." And all of a sudden you have this like confidence of like, "Oh my God, this business is working," or "I need to cut costs here," or "I have a little bit of extra marketing dollars here, or I can move things around." That knowledge that you will gain is crucial for moving forward to the next step in your business.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Lindy, because I it made me think of, I used to do sales and forecast. I ran the sales report, daily sales report was my job, like opening up, looking at the sales, updating, sending it out to the company. And I was like, oh, I need to do this in my business. So I was thinking, oh, $1 million business needs that, but does a solopreneur need that? No. Yes, they do. I'm just going to
Yeah,
answer
if you
that
want
question.
a $1,000,000 business, and who doesn't, then to start.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Eyes on the prize.
purposefully, yeah, I purposely was like, I'm opening my sales report every day, even if I don't have a sale.
There you go.
It's a habit. It's like, I'm going to look at it. I don't have to update anything. Yay.
Mhm.
And then I close it. But I open it. It's open every single day. And again, it's from my perspective. And this is something that I work with clients on and that I believe in, is I'm manifesting. Business planning is manifesting. And when I open my sales sheet, I'm thinking sales are coming in and I need to log them and I need to make sure I'm tracking. And if I don't have them, that's okay. But it's a part of the daily thing. It's looking at it every day. And like you said, Lindy, getting comfortable. The more you look at it, the more comfortable you get.
Absolutely. Another tip that I have, with what we're talking about now is to work backwards. So, what's your big hairy number? So if let's say it's 100,000, just that you're starting out, or you're an existing business. Let's say it's 500,000 in a year, that in revenue. Let's say. Start there, work backwards, do the numbers on your monthly costs, all of your overhead, all of your expenses, how many sales or how much money do you need to make each month to hit that goal, and then it will help you to track your marketing efforts, and just basically manage your time, and managing your money, because money management is huge.
Yeah, yeah, and again, these are all things that, that I offer in my services. So when people work with me, I do one-on-one coaching only with them in this specific way. So I have a whole sheet that helps them tie what Lindy just said, your marketing efforts to your goal. It's like, what are you doing that's gonna get you to that 100,000, 500,000, whatever that is? So it's really important that you're tracking that, and that
Mhm.
all ties into pricing and budgeting.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. We're going to move on to messaging. Messaging is a huge part of all of this too. I like to tell people that building your business foundation is layers. So we have our brand, we know who we are and who we talk to. Now we understand how much it's going to cost and how much we have to ask for income. So we have our pricing and our budgeting. Now we have to decide what it is we're saying. What are we saying to the people we know we're talking to in a way that is our voice from our brand that is going to sell the thing that we priced? So it's like all on top of each other. So, how do you clearly explain your services and value? Really understanding, and I like to break it down to a signature service. What is the one service that you can just talk about all the time and put it out there, put it out there, put it out there? And that's what you're selling to begin with. And then you can always expand on that. So for me, it's my one on one coaching. I always talk about my one on one coaching because it is the key thing that I know is going to get people results for the price that they're paying. So I talk about it all the time and
Mhm.
the messaging around that. So what is it that you're saying? And this ties into again when you want to have a website because Lindy and her team are going to ask you, what do you want to say? I built a page with them. I know this. So, what do you want to talk about with messaging, Lindy, around that?
Where do I begin? Feel free to throw in your questions now, and we'll answer them. But let me start. So let me start with the basics. Um, Two things: tone of voice. W- What do your ideal clients want to hear? I'll give you a formula. What do I provide? Who do I provide it for? Um, What does that engagement look like? And what happens after the engagement's over? What does your ideal client walk away with? Everybody wants to know ROI. If you are in an industry and you provide a service that a lot of other and you have a lot of competitors, setting yourself apart, how you're unique is crucial. And it will take time and it's okay, but start with something. What is it that your ideal client walks away with? I feel like we all hear this all the time. Your unique offering. And that sounds like so easy to say, but I know how hard it is to actually come up with that messaging. So think of your elevator pitch. Then from your elevator pitch, expand on it. If you're still stuck, get in front of your Zoom, record your Zoom, look at yourself, and start talking about your product. And then record it, transcribe it, and then yes, you can throw it into chat and then refine it if you're going to throw it into chat GPT, make it yours, make it your own. Um, but if you need some extra help along the way, I mean, that's obviously a good tool to use. Run it by some friends and just get it out there. It will refine itself over time. And just remember, you can always change it over time as well as your business grows and evolves. You will find that it will refine itself. That's kind of where I'm going with this. So when Susie's talking about messaging, she's talking about like like how what you say to a client for the first time or a lead for the first time you get them on the phone, what you say in your social, how you come across in your social media channels, what you put in your descriptor on your LinkedIn. Whoop, like almost lost my light there. On your LinkedIn, on your Instagram, Facebook, whatever, like that short descriptor, like little like bits and pieces. So start with the basics, that formula, and then pull from that, and you can start dotting your messaging and just all over your social media channels, and it will help obviously get into that website messaging as well, which we'll talk about in a few moments.
Yeah, and I want to add to what Lindy's saying too is it's a try it. Again, it's not going to be perfect the first time. And I think people get hung up on, I'm going to keep editing and refining it before I do anything with it. And it's like, no, anything and everything can be changed.
Totally.
Anything and everything can be changed. Like I'm going to say, it's always going to be changing. And
Yeah.
so start just start. Just get something, follow her formula, start using it, and then you're gonna start to get better. The more conversations you have, when you get clients, when you start talking, when things start to flow, then you'll be like, "Oh, I'm more clear now. I wanna say it this way instead, or I wanna use this word because this word keeps coming up in conversation. People keep
Mm,
asking for something specific." So it's constantly gonna be evolving into what it is for the time, and then guess what? It's gonna change again. So it's okay if you're like, "It's not perfect." That's okay. Put it
mhm,
out there anyway. I do wanna give one tip. Ask people when you start messaging. So sometimes I will put something out and then I will go ask people I know. Lindy's now in my network of relationships I have with other entrepreneurs. Lindy probably will she'll probably get something from me like, "Hey, what does this sound like? Does this sound like me? Does it sound like Business Simplified?" Because that's what you really want people to know is that it is looking and sounding like who you are and what you do, and it makes sense. And when I first started, I wasn't communicating very clearly what it is that I did or how I did or what not the how, but what I did and who I was. And so it was confusing. But the
mhm.
more I did it and the more people I worked with and the more clients I got and like over time, I'm getting better and better, always changing though. So what I say today might shift tomorrow and that's okay. But I'm just going to say what I'm going to say and then over time it'll get better. So,
Oh, for sure. And it will. Just start with something and then have fun with it. Um, I know a lot of the stuff that we're saying right now sounds super serious, but it doesn't have to be. Just try to have some fun with it. If you get stuck, walk away, come back tomorrow, go have a cup of coffee, go see your friends, and then, maybe you have that 3 a.m. aha moment, but get it down on paper, something. I was hosting a webinar or workshop yesterday to a few people because I have a monthly workshop as well. You're all welcome. And the formula that I was just speaking to you about, I give it to you kind of like haphazardly, but I just pulled it up on my keynote. So I'm going to say it one more time. Um, I am X, or my company name is I/we. I'm going to say I work with target client to achieve their specific goal or the ROI that you provide, your promise, by, and then what you do. That's it. Welcome to Up in a Day. We work with small business owners to simplify their online presence by delivering done for you websites in days, not months. Easy. But then it evolves into like quick websites, awesome websites, professional websites without the headache. So it'll change. And just that's what I'm saying, like have some fun with it. As long as it's like in the voice that your audience, that your client is attracted to and connects to. Like it's all about you, but really it's not. It's also all about them because that's where your sales are.
yeah, yeah, it's pairing up your because again, for me, being a service provider, I like to there's certain people that I wanna work with, so I wanna draw those people to me. So I'm gonna present myself in a way that is gonna draw that type of a client to me, and
Yeah.
as and I wanna tell you, it's okay if not everybody wants to work with you.
Yep.
That's one thing that in your messaging, you actually want to repel the ones you don't wanna work with.
Mm.
I work with service providers. I don't want a bunch of product people coming to me going, "Hey, can you help me sell these sweaters?" No,
Yeah.
because that's not what I do. I'm in it for a specific reason, and I do certain work for certain people, so I wanna draw those people to me. So I'm not gonna be putting information out there that's gonna draw people who wanna sell sweaters. That doesn't make
Mhm.
sense. So again, being okay with yeah, and being okay with saying things that will repel people.
Yeah.
In your
Definitely.
own voice, in your own tone, so that when someone pulls up your website or they look at your social media and they go, "Nope, not for me." Yay, that's what we want. We want that specificity. I'm not sure if I'm saying that word right. We wanna be specific. We want it to be clear. This is who I serve. This is what I do. Yeah,
Mhm.
love that.
Okay, messaging 101.
Yep, there you go.
Any questions?
Lindy's up. Yeah, if you
Oh, I
have
am.
questions, please drop them.
Yep. Okay, so let's segue into if I see a question pop up. I'll answer it in regards to what we previously talked about. But let's segue and roll into your marketing presence. Mainly, obviously, I'm going to speak to websites. And the way I want to segue into this is, when you're, Susie was just talking about when you're creating messaging, create it and it's just you and you want to kind of weed out the people that aren't right for you and vice versa, to really like create messaging that speaks to you and that is personally branded to you. And your website is just like that. We recently had a client, her name is it's Wraines Seminars and Consulting. They the business owner came to us and she said, instead of my website messaging and tone and design speaks to my, I don't want it to speak to my ideal clients. Basically, I want it to speak to me, because I want people to get to my website and be like, oh, I can connect with this. Like, I get her vibe, I get what she's about, I totally understand who she helps, but I want to work with her. And so that's a perfect example of like a super solopreneur who is really adamant about who she wants to work with, because she wants people to understand what she's like the moment they see her before they meet her. Couple things that does. One, it builds your confidence. It brings in the right conversions of the right people, taking your time on a call and their time, and not basically wasting your time or their time talking to the wrong people. So, when we're creating the tone of our voice and the tone of the brand, two separate things, and sometimes it's the same. We're kind of like mixing them both today, but it's okay. Um, when it comes to your website, decide what kind of tone you want to portray and convey. So I like to say, if you have some clients under your belt and you're ready for your first website or you're ready for that revamp, what is the mindset that people are coming to your website in? Are they annoyed? Are they frustrated? Are they sad? Are they like, let's do it? Like, what is that tone? And that will help drive your essence and your messaging and even the design of your site to an extent. Also, consider whether or not you want your website to be all like branded to you, like I was like Susie's or like Herring Seminars, or maybe you are in an industry that is very specific. For example, we had a client a couple years ago who's a consultant specifically in the dental industry. So he wanted, and it made total sense, a website that spoke directly to that industry, to that specific audience, which was the owner of the dental practice, right? Colors, images, etc. So, a couple things to think about there when you're thinking about your website. I want to be mindful of the time too. And I don't know how long I've been talking, so Susie, just give me a wave. But let's talk about, let me just go to my notes and make sure I'm not skipping over anything crucial. Oh, okay. Here's one. Why do I need to go get a professional website done rather than trying to do it on my own as a first go out to my audience because my business is brand new and I'm on a budget? Well, what is that first impression you want to make? I am not going to speak to budget because I don't know people's budget, but I am going to speak to when you are ready to get in front of your ideal audience online. That first impression is everything, because that is how everyone's going to find out more. Your website for confirmation. So let's say you're using Instagram or LinkedIn and you're doing all these really awesome posts, and someone's interested and they're like, okay, I want to find out more, or I want to book a call. They're going to go to your website, and that first impression is everything. It's like a book by its cover, whether we all like it or not. If your website's old and clunky, or it's not saying the right thing, or maybe it doesn't say anything, or it's just like it's not working on mobile, it's not optimized, it's slow, they're going to bounce. Because I have so many things to say about this, but what is your price point? And your website should reflect that price point. If you are $500 an hour consultant, then your website needs to look like a $500 consultant, because those are the people who are going to convert because they get it, right? Um, Again, let's not waste our time on the phone with people who can't afford our services or just are not in the right place. Um, Other things about your website. Oh, sorry, let me just go back. It's always like a touchy subject, but I often get, and I'm going to say this because it's true, once a week, I get a consult that comes to me because I do all of our consults. And they say the two things that happen. Lindy, I need a website because I'm so stressed out. I'm going to say cousin built my website and I'm so embarrassed by it. Or I built my website on my own and I'm so embarrassed by it. And it's literally blocking me from moving ahead in my business. Like it doesn't even reflect who I am or what I even offer anymore. Like I need help now. Okay. You don't want to find yourself in that position. You really don't. You want to find someone or an agency that understands your industry, your business, what you need, and sets you up for longevity. Um, uh, Other things that can happen is, and Suzy, I'm going to push this back to you because we talked about this at another time. But um, if you find that perfect agency that you know can deliver exactly what you need to propel your business forward because you have all of the pride and the confidence and the yes, this is me, like let's go get business website, but you can't afford it off the bat, be very careful about where you go because you ultimately you'll again, this happened last week. You'll find that if you go to the wrong person that doesn't understand your needs and your industry and your client, your ideal clients, you're going to spend a lot of time and a lot of effort, which is all money, getting something that is lackluster, and you're going to find yourself stuck. That's like
Yeah.
100%, and I usually don't like to talk like that to people, like, I don't even know who's here, but because I can't see you, but man, you guys, I cannot stress enough how often I hear that, and it saddens me to no end, and it's literally why I started Up in a Day, um, because it's I know, I get it, it's hard to find the right people to get you up and running, but I want Susie to talk about, well, how do I know when I can afford the right agency? How do I know what to budget?
Yeah,
And
it's that
that's a good
it's
one.
so funny when you said that. Yeah, and when you were talking and you're like, "I'm gonna let sit," I'm like, "You're reading my mind." So I agree with everything Lindy said. I all of it. I'm also gonna talk to you from a startup. I have a budget. Budgets are big and they're real. Like you only have so much money. So what I'm gonna say is, and this is what I did. I didn't know what I wanted on my website. I couldn't have hired Lindy at the beginning.
Yep.
There's no way, even if I had the money, like millions of dollars, go hire a web designer. And I'd be like, she'd be like, what do you want to do? And how do you want it? And I'd be like, I don't know. I kind of have an idea, but I don't know what my messaging is. I don't know what my brand is. I don't know what any of it is. So she would have built this beautiful website for me that didn't even reflect anything that I even really knew. And I would have ended up having to spend money again, which again is what she's talking to. If you take time and don't know what you want to do, so there's two things here. You can do things on a smaller budget that's, and Lindy and I have talked about this, a one pager that
Pager.
does speak to
Yeah.
who you are and what you do in a beautiful way that when someone clicks on it from social media, they go, "Oh, wow. Okay, this matches. This is good." Yes, we
Mhm.
totally support that. The other thing is what I did, I didn't know. So I created my own temporary, I always tell people it's a working copy. Temporary, I'm happy with this logo, I'm happy with these colors, I'm happy with this brand for now. I need to get started. And I
Yes. Good.
did my own website. It was within my budget and I was happy with it. I was happy giving people the link and saying, this is who I am and what I do. But it wasn't exactly what I wanted, like, because I didn't know. I was still working through all the things we talked about at the beginning. Who am I talking to? What am I saying? What are my services? I was still working that out. But I had a temporary lower cost thing that I could go in and change easily because
Mhm.
I'm not a web designer at all. And there were parts of it I was like, "Man, I wish I could hire." And so what I did is it became part of my budget. I
Yeah.
am as my business evolves, as I get my messaging, as I understand more about who I am and what I do and who I speak to and what do I want the world to see, I then interviewed and got quotes from, and I didn't know Lindy at the time, but I got quotes from web designers. I was like, "Give me how much would it cost to do this one thing?" And I put that to the side, knowing that I would, as my business grew, I'm putting that money into my web budget. This is I'm saving the money to say, "Okay, now I'm gonna hire professional web designer, and I'm gonna get all the thing, and I'm gonna know what to tell them." So I just want Lindy, share with the audience when I had you do my page because I like to test things and I like to work with people. And when I recommend people, I like to test the services that I'm recommending. So with Lindy, I was like, "Hey, can you guys build me a page? I just need a page because I want to see how it is to work with you, what it's like, and we're gonna go into client experience. So this ties into that. Um, how was it to work with me as a client that actually knew what they wanted? Like,
Easy peasy and fast. Um, and it was great because your business is obviously solidified. It's structured. You had a website already, but you were needing to kind of solidify and clarify a few things. Plus, with your offering that you were just kind of packaging up. But it was great because when we had that first call and I asked you what you were looking for, you knew exactly what you were looking for. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I know exactly how this should be laid out. So that's very helpful. I'm not saying everybody's like that. You don't need to be because you should work with somebody who can help you get to that point. That's what we do here. I mean, we do both, but it was so great. When we handed over our copy document to you, it came back the same day, I think, exactly what you wanted. It was just enough. It was so perfect. We had a kickoff call. We talked about the design that you wanted, and then we just got going, and it was like done lickety split because we knew both, on both sides, expectations were met, which was super cool.
so the reason I give that example is that that is not how it would have been if I had hired you when I first started.
Oh, we were I was like, "What do you want me to say exactly?"
No, no, I give that example because, again, understanding who you are and what you do, like, you do have to have some foundational pieces before you can move forward to hire somebody. And so, because I know what I'm talking about now, I know who I am and what I'm doing. It was
Mm,
very now, like, literally, I have a web designer that I work with exclusively, and I'm just like, "Oh, yeah, can you do this? Oh, yeah, can you do that?" It's not gonna be like that at first, and that's okay. And Lindy spoke to this. She can help you with that. Like, I just want you to share a little bit about what it's like when you get people who are like, "Well, I'm not really sure what I wanna put, how I wanna do that," because I know your team does help with some messaging, putting together some colors, putting together some look and feel based on just conversations that you have with people.
a majority of our clients come to us with little or no branding. They have, like, a logo and maybe a tagline. Um, so the our goal is to make it as easy as possible for the business owners. Like, well, we work with a lot of people who are not techie. They're very, very busy as business owners. They're building their business, and the last thing that they want to worry about is their website. They want to leave it to professionals. So we have a whole process that helps these individuals um, get the content. We get the content from them. And then we're off to the races. So we have the discussion with them, and then we build a website and we review it, etc. So one way that so there's always a consult with me at the beginning. And so I'll ask individuals like very specific questions. I can see it from a mile away if they're like, oh my God, I have no idea. So it's just about, and maybe this will help you guys too. You can kind of start seeing patterns in your leads, like why they're coming to you. It starts to be cyclical, and you'll start to formulate specific questions to really make them feel at ease. Um, Trusting you, that's huge in the web agency. Oh my gosh, or in the web world. Um, and then for me to really understand what their needs are and to kind of guide them. And then after that call, we're going to ask everybody to give us your content. I mean, we have copywriters and content creators and et cetera. But if you're on a budget and you don't have the extra to hire a copywriter and you want to do it on your own, we have a whole system. Like basically, it's like a document that will framework your website for you and help you to formulate your messaging in a nice, easy, concise way, basically, in a nutshell, without the stress and without the headache, because it's stressful. It was stressful for me when I first attacked our website on day one. I was like, oh my God, what do I say? And all too often, you know what really happens is we sit there as business owners and we're so excited and we want to say everything to all of our clients. And so we like deliver like a really copy heavy website. That's beautiful. I was talking about this yesterday. That's beautiful. Good. Go for it. But then stop. No, that's okay, but then you have to pull it back, like ring it in because people spend about 5 to maybe 10 seconds on your website. Um, who you are, what you do I like the look of this? Do you offer what I need? Are you solving my problem? Um, what is it like to work with you and what do I walk away with? Like that like initial connection, relating and converting. So it's just like 1, 2, 3, like what you offer, a little bit about you, your business, or sorry, your headline, tagline, a little bit about you and your business, what you offer, maybe some pain points. Um, Again, what it's like to work with you, and just making sure like it's really easy and consistent and clear for someone to take action on your website. I mean, you if you come to us and say, I don't understand why my website's not converting, chances are it's too wordy, not clear enough, or you don't have your call to action buttons in the strategic areas because people in the days of you guys, Amazon and the buy it now button and Instagram, and we're like scrolling through and like crazy LinkedIn with this like crazy content is like in your face. Like we're probably in your face if you're scrolling through right now, looking at us. I'm looking at you. Um,
Stop
it's like
scrolling.
what? You have to capture them. People are like moving a million miles a minute. So pull back on your copy and just keep it simple and concise. People only read headlines.
Yeah. Yeah, and this totally ties into, the website portion, and we're gonna move into connecting with your audience,
Oh,
um,
you should do
and
that.
client experience because this is my biggest pet peeve as being a consumer. When I click on someone's website and I read all through it and I go, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing," and then I hire them and they're not anything like what their website said.
Oh,
My experience is nothing like the website presented, and I'm
that's
frustrated as a consumer. So, your client experience is so incredible. Like, having that out there. I had somebody get on a call with me, and I was like, "Oh, that made me feel good." Excuse me. He got on a call with me, and he goes, "You're exactly like you are on your podcast. You're exactly like you are when I see you on social media." And I'm like, "Yes, I am."
yeah,
Like, I want people
huge.
to, when they come to my website and they look at it, they go, "That's Suzy." Like, and when they talk to me, they go, "Oh, yeah, that totally makes sense." Like, it's a reflection of me, my business, what we represent, how we show up for our clients. So,
Mhm.
making those connections and even for collaborations. Lindy, I
Let's talk about
stalk all the people that want, yeah, because all the people that are on my podcast, I stalk. So, like, they'll reach out and they'll be like, "Hey, I wanna be on your podcast," and I'm like, "Who are you?" Like, like, I'm in a LinkedIn, website, like, I'm all over the YouTube, I'm looking at everything, and it's so fascinating to me how so many people do different things. Like, their YouTube does not even have the name of what they say they are, or their LinkedIn has nothing related to who they say they are. And I'm like, "Wait a minute, are you who you say you are?" That trust factor. So with Lindy, like, she was like, "Hey, I wanna be on your podcast," and I'm like, "Do, do, do," poking around, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, this is amazing. I'd love to have her on my podcast." Website matches, LinkedIn matches, like, all the things, they align and they make sense. So collaborations, when you're collaborating with other business owners, it's important that what you're putting out into the world matches who you are and what you do. So there are going to be people looking at you that want to connect with you, and maybe they want to speak to your audience. So making those connections, networking, building that
Mhm.
trust. So like Lindy, I'm going to be referring people to Up in a Day like crazy. She's going to refer people to me because we know each other now. We know how we work, and our presence in the internet world reflects that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what else you want to add to
No,
that.
that's exactly right. And part of making connections, um, I mean, making connections there also, but like, let's talk about a little bit of like networking. I'm just looking at our notes, networking, building
Mhm.
relationships, showing up where our clients are. So, how are we getting clients, Susie, now that we have our website up and when people get there, it reflects our brand and who we work with? How do we get people to our website? How do we get in front of people?
Yeah, so for me, what I like to tell people is, and I did this, when people are like, "How can people reach out to you, Susie? Where are you on social media?" I'm like, "I don't give anybody my social media." I'm like, "Go to startingabusinesssimplified.com."
Mhm.
Because everything you need to know about me, my podcast, about me, my services, my retreats, everything, my newsletter, all of my social media is all there. So it's like give them one direct place,
Yeah.
point them there where everything is so that then they can go poke around from there. It drives traffic to the website, which helps with it being searchable. Again, that's
Mhm.
more Lindy's world, but I've started to be better at like pointing them directly there. Before it was like, oh, there's LinkedIn over here and YouTube over here and Facebook over here and I got a podcast over there, and it's like, and I've learned like on my podcast page there are buttons that are like listen on Spotify, listen on Apple Podcasts, because those are the two main ones. So if they want to listen to it on a different thing, they can. But they can also just click and there's a YouTube of my podcast episode right there on the page. So they don't have to go anywhere else if they don't want to.
Exactly. And those are great, great points. Like making sure like everything is housed. Everything that you want someone to do is housed in one spot. Your website's the place. Why? Because that is where people come to find out more about you. And most importantly, it is where they come to convert, to book a call, to send a message in a form, to send you an email, whatever it is, purchase something, even purchase one of your digital products. Like, um, here's a great example. Let's say you are an individual and you have a website that's a service-based website for confirmation. It's awesome. And then one day down the road, you're like, oh my gosh, you know what? I can actually create digital products, or I have an ebook, or something, and I have swag and I'm wanting to sell it on my website. One of our clients, she's in health and wellness and she sells her meditations on a website for 25 bucks a pop. Like, then you have an e-com on your website plus your service-based website. Making sure your website's set up ready to grow so that when you start expanding your offerings, you can your website grows with you, and all of a sudden people who just want to find out more about you are like, oh my gosh, she has an ebook. Well, let me try the ebook first. And then all of a sudden you have this recurring income because they're buying your $30 ebook. And then all of a sudden they have your ebook. Well, you have $30 in your pocket and you have their email. So all of a sudden you have their email and then you have your newsletters. You're staying top of mind with them. I'm a huge newsletter proponent, everybody. It's like my favorite marketing tool ever. And then you create these amazing newsletters that bring a ton of value to your audience, to your subscribers, and then you're totally top of mind all the time, whether they're referring you out or they're sending people to your store, to your website, whatever it is. um you can't it doesn't get any better than that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I would say this does add to your client's experience because the more that you offer, the more that they have options, and it just is smooth for them. Um, for my client, yeah, for my client experience, it's not only working with me, but it's also referring me. Like, they'll work with me and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, I have like 5 people that I wanna send to you," because it was such a beautiful experience they had. And it's not just when they're working with you, it's when they're done. So
Mhm.
they're no longer working with me, but they're still thinking about me. They still have, oh my gosh, the experience that I had with Business Simplified and Suzy was so amazing. They're sending people to my website because that's the
Mhm.
easiest way to find me. Everything's there. They don't have to send them to all these different places. So it's a smooth transition to be able to refer.
Exactly. Make sure your website is smooth too. Like, make sure it's not too complicated, too difficult to navigate. Like, keep it simple, super simple. Up in a day, simple websites. Suzy Wraines, Business Simplified. There's a reason why everything needs to be simple. And it goes back to everybody runs a million miles a minute. And if you and people just need to know what you do. Can you help me? Yes, good. Okay, great. But also for you, keeping your life simple, keeping your business simple, and like no headaches. Like keep your website simple too. Like nice and easy. I just put that simple
Yeah.
together. Ding, 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 ding.
I love that. It's a, and no, it's, and that I get that feedback. I know we're at time. I get that feedback from
Yeah.
my clients all the time. They're like, you make things easier and simple. Like you make it sound so easy. I'm like, it is. We complicate it. Our brain wants to make it harder than it is. It's like, no, you just need to know who you are, what you do, what is your service, how much do you charge, who is it for, and then you get out there and you show it to everybody. You're a business owner. That's it.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So,
Awesome.
everyone, if you're still here, you're welcome to drop your questions in the comments section. If you don't have any questions, then please, we are going to stick around for the next 30 seconds. Um, if you want to reach out to either myself or to Suzy, I'll start with me, and Suzy will tell you where you can find her. For myself, you're welcome to send me a direct email right now. Say, hey, would love to chat, or hey, I just want to connect. Awesome, let's just connect, have a friendly conversation. Otherwise, you can go to our website, www, can't believe I'm saying that, upinaday.co. So that's CO. And there you can find everything you need to learn more about us. You can subscribe to our newsletter. But you can also book a call with me, and we can just have a nice, easygoing chat. And I'm happy to help however I can.
Thanks, Lindy. And yeah, and for me, it's you could go to my website, startingabusinesssimplified.com all together. Yes, there's three S's in it. When you type it out, make sure you get all the S's. On there, you can find about my services, what I offer, retreats, podcast, all the things are on the website. And I just want to let people know that are watching, if you're curious about working with me, you can connect with me right there on the website. Click on the contact me, fill out the form, and then we can hop on a call and I can have a chat with you. I work one on one only on purpose for clients because I know that that is what is required to get the results that you're looking for as a business coach. So I would love to chat with you if you're curious. Also, if you're watching this on LinkedIn, go ahead and shoot me a message. I'm happy to chat just to answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah, amazing. And actually, you want to drop your link, or actually, I can do it too. We'll just put
Yeah.
Susie's website in the chat.
Yep. Yep. Startingabusinesssimplified.com.
Let's see. I'll drop it in.
I do want to let people know, thanks Anita for commenting. We're going to be running this live again. It's going
Mhm.
to be a replay. We're going to schedule it out so you can see it in my newsfeed on LinkedIn, my YouTube channel, Starting a Business Simplified, and also on Lindy's newsfeed as well. So that replay will be showing up. We won't be on there live, but it will be the replay of this one.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody, so much for sticking around. We really, truly hope we provided some insight and some help to you and some ease if you are starting a new business. And we look forward to seeing you around LinkedIn and hearing from you soon.
Thanks, everybody.